Greetings, fellow Toros. Thank you for your patience and waiting for us to come onto online. We were meeting with our fellow alums to make sure that we're ready, but I'd like to go ahead and just jump right in. My name is Felicia Hernandez. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations, and I'd like to welcome you to the second installment of Toro Industry Day featuring Toyota, which is in co-partnership with the Career Center. In the meeting room, I'm joined by my colleague, Vanita Patel, who is the lead engagement specialist and the career counselor for the Career Center, and who will also be moderating today's panel discussion. I'm also joined by my colleague, Gilbert Hernandez, who's the senior coordinator of Alumni Relations, who will be watching the chat box for any questions you may have. Sorry. If you have any questions, and it also, this meeting room is being recorded. So, but at the end of the panel discussion, we want to make sure you have we get your answers, all your questions answered. So even just feel free to throw your questions into the chat box. In this panel discussion, I know we have students and alumni who are with us today. Will learn about all the different career opportunities which Toyota has to offer. Although we have staff, students, and faculty who have been challenged during this working remote environment, it has brought us special opportunities to feature alumni out of the region. This is our first panel discussion where we've been able to feature alumni to current students that are based out of the state and are actually calling in from Texas today. Before we jump into introducing the alumni panelists, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Phil LaPolte, who is the Dean of the College of Natural and Behavioral Science, who will be sharing a little bit more about our university partnership with Toyota. Dean LaPolte, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Felicia, and welcome everyone. I am Dr. Phil LaPolte. I'm Dean of the College of Natural and Behavioral Sciences. I'd like to thank everyone for joining today's panel discussion as we welcome back 3 extraordinary alumni as part of our Toro Industry Day featuring Toyota. A special thank you to our 3 alumni speakers. Your alma mater really appreciates your commitment to our students and to your university. The knowledge and the expertise that you share with our students today will give them important insights as they pursue their career aspirations. You're really great examples of what we mean when we say once a Toro, always a Toro. So we're glad to have you back with us today. To our students and former students attending today's discussion, we hope you'll use this opportunity to learn from our alumni and really take note of their educational and career journeys that have led to their professional success. Please use this opportunity to learn from these fellow Toros as they share their stories. I should also mention that Toyota is a dedicated university partner. We have great appreciation and gratitude to Toyota for the great commitment they've shown to our students and the university. As part of this dedication, we're excited to help tackle workforce readiness needs with the creation of the new Toyota Center for Innovation in STEM Education, which is located in the new Science and Innovation building. Maybe you saw that on campus last year. It's highlighted behind me. We're really thankful to Toyota for their support of that new center, and also their support for the mobile fab labs, which are, by the way, pulled by Toyota Tundra trucks, and which allow our faculty and staff and our students to take science and technology directly into schools and into the community. So when it's safe to do so, we really welcome all of you back to our campus to see the amazing things that are happening at the Toyota Center and at the Science and Innovation Building. And with that, I hope you enjoyed today's presentation, and I welcome back Felicia Hernandez, Director of Alumni Relations, who will be introducing our panel.
Thank you, Paul. Before we introduce our panel, I actually wanted to give you a super exciting opportunity to see our new building and a sneak peek of it, since we also have our alums here who are here today who haven't been back to campus but will, and then also the opportunity for all of our new students to see our new building. So let me go ahead and share my screen. The opportunity to see it.
That's beautiful.
Isn't it? We're super, did I stop sharing my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Yes, it is beautiful and we can't wait. And thank you to Toyota for the partnership and that we have with, oh, I'm sorry, I have something playing in the background. Give me a minute. There we go. So I apologize. So again, thank you to Toyota and our partnership with all of you. Without Toyota, we wouldn't have been able to have this building, and we're all super excited to celebrate the growth of the campus and have our grand opening. Now, I'd like to turn it over to our panelists, and I would like for them to introduce themselves, but starting with their grad and then their employer, with their positions within Toyota. But I actually would like if we can have Sherry start us off.
Hi guys, my name is Sherry Mccaskill. I am a talent acquisition manager for college programs with Toyota. I grew up in the Carson area, as a matter of fact, right down the road from California State University, Dominguez Hills, and my dad actually still lives right next door to Dominguez Hills. So I'm always near the campus when I'm home. So I've been with the organization 21 years. I started out at our TMS headquarters right there in Torrance. I actually had a different path than my fellow coworkers that are on the line with us today. I actually went to school late in life. And so while I was working for Toyota in their call center, I actually went to college and got my degree at Cal State Dominguez Hills while working there. So I'm super excited to talk to you guys today. I'm up for answering any questions, especially regarding internships, co-ops, training programs. So I look forward to talking more to you guys.
Steve?
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Steve Silbeger. I happen to be a learning development and training analyst for the Brand Engagement Center here at Toyota. I've been with the company 32 years. I am a proud Toro. I received my undergraduate degree in 1988, and it's because I went to a career fair sponsored by the university that I was introduced to Toyota. So I'm very happy about that connection. I was active on campus as an undergraduate with the associate students and fraternity, as well as the opportunity to, after graduation, get involved with the Alumni Association. And I served as the Alumni Association president early in this century. So I'm happy to say that I'm happy to help in any way I can and look forward to a lively discussion here on this panel.
Awesome. Sandy, you're going to be our last one to introduce yourself, but with that, if you wouldn't mind going into the mission of the organization and the environment that it is working with you, Toyota.
Great, thanks Felicia, and hello everybody virtually. I'm Sandy Lobenstein. I'm also a native Californian. I hold a BS degree in marketing from San Diego State, and I received my MBA from Dominguez Hills in 1994. Steve and I actually attended the program together back then. I started my Impossible with Toyota about 30 years ago, and I've had about 15 different jobs. I began working as an agent on our 800 number answering customer calls. From there, my career expanded to include calling on our dealers in the field, product development, corporate strategy. I ran one of our $400 million telematics businesses, and I led the IT department for a few years as well. I'm now the group vice president overseeing the application of the Toyota production system on our non-manufacturing operations. And our charter is to help find efficiencies in our current businesses that can be reallocated to projects for the expansion of our new mobility businesses that you may or may not have heard about. A little bit about the company. Our official name is Toyota Motor North America. And our operations span the United States, Mexico, and Canada. We've been part of the cultural fabric of the United States since 1957. And in almost 64 years, our operations have evolved from almost just being a distributor or a car dealership to being the regional headquarters for Toyota in the Western Hemisphere. We opened our first manufacturing plant in the United States 37 years ago, and now we have 10 plants in the US and 14 in all in North America. Combined, those plants have manufactured about 30 million cars and trucks, which is a lot of cars and trucks. And let me tell you a little bit more about the scale. We are responsible, and we've made about $30 billion in direct investments in the United States over that time period. We directly employ 186,000 team members working across the United States in sales, finance, engineering, manufacturing, design, and R&D. And a lot of people think of Toyota as a manufacturing and a sales company, but actually we are quite broad and have a lot of different disciplines inside of our organization. We produced 1.2 million vehicles last year, and through our 1,500 franchise Toyota and Lexus dealers, we sold about 2.1 million vehicles, making us the #1 retail brand in the United States, I think for the 19th or 20th year running. And to feed that engine, we buy $35 billion worth of parts and materials every year from suppliers around North America. And our operations contribute to almost 500,000 jobs in the US, considering our dealers and our suppliers. And we're really proud to be called a top 10 company for diversity, as rated by Diversity Inc. And that's out of 1,800 companies that applied for that moniker. And here's another factoid that we're very proud of. In 2009, we started spending about $1 million an hour on R&D. And we hold more patents than any other auto manufacturer, including patents for hybrid and battery electric vehicles. So for those of you who are minoring in math or majoring in math, over the last 21 years, we've spent about $184 billion on research and development. And everything we do at Toyota is based on the Toyota Way philosophy, which is founded on placing the needs of the customers first and respect for people. Every decision we make comes back to these basic principles, and that's why I chose to work for the company, and that's why I've been there for the past 30 years, and why Sherry, Steve, and I would like to share with you our experiences and answer any questions you have about the company.
Thank you, Sandy. And the Toyota team has generously offered their video to give you a little bit more insight on what it's like to be working there. So I'm going to go ahead and share that before we get fully started with our panel discussion. Give me one moment. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not showing up on my screen. That's strange. I don't know why it's not coming onto my screen to share with you all. I'm sorry about that. We'll move on, and I would like to introduce Panita Patel to begin the panel discussion.
Thank you, Felicia, and thank you all for joining us today for this session. So all of you guys described and introduced yourself and your role. Could you describe a little bit more about what is your day-to-day responsibilities look like within each of your guys' role at Toyota?
Sherry is on mute,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I'm
No problem.
unmuted. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So I'll go first. So I oversee all of the strategy and recruitment for all of our interns and co-ops across Toyota North America. And so my day-to-day is usually working with my recruiters to make sure that we are sourcing and interviewing and hiring the talent to come in and fill pipelines to hire into permanent roles within Toyota. And so I have a team of 10 recruiters and 2 administrators that go out and partner with universities like Dominguez to source those candidates. So a typical day for me is, working with not only my partners, but also working with my client groups, working with our leadership to ensure that we have all of the funding that we need necessary to be able to go out. And then also fielding different things from different groups. I service 52 groups across the organization. And so you can imagine that I'm extremely busy. And so a lot of my job is relationships, right? Building relationships, sustaining relationships, not only with our client groups, also with our university partners, our large conference partners, and then also the students. I think that's my most fun part of my job, is when I'm able to connect with our interns and our co-ops and talk a lot about, you know, my experience with Toyota, and then help them develop and set them up for success within the organization as well. So I have a lot of moving parts to my job, but I absolutely love what I do, because I'm able to mentor, guide, and also provide opportunities for students such as yourselves within the organization starting out.
That's great. I'd like to go next. Hi, I'm Steve Silbeger, and my role at Toyota, I've been, as I mentioned, with the company 32 years. My current role is as a brand engagement center, which is our contact center serving both the Lexus and Toyota brand. The learning, development, and training role, I co-lead that process to provide the initial onboarding training for our team members who answer questions and concerns from our active guests who have questions and concerns, and as well as provide ongoing supportive training opportunities for our team members that serve the customers when they contact us, whether it be by the phone or in writing or chat or any other method. My day-to-day is, I'd like to say it's consistent. It is not. And that's what a wonderful part about the job. It's a lot of variety, whether it's facilitating classes either prior to let's say the middle of March in person in a classroom setting, but we've been doing it virtually since being at home. So it's been great, as well as being actively involved in the creation of new training, as well as we are in the process of rolling out a new customer relations management system based on Salesforce, which will be a tremendous improvement on our current system. And that we need to train all 200 plus people inside the organization that use the system. So I'm actively involved in that. So my day-to-day is quite unique in the sense that it's not the same thing.
No consistency in our day-to-day.
Right. Sandy?
Thank you, Steve. So I oversee a group that is responsible for administrative Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese word that means continuous improvement, and it's part of the Toyota way and part of our philosophy around the Toyota production system. Within my pillar, I lead one of the groups, again, that's focused on the non-manufacturing operations. We have another group that's a sister department to mine that focuses on the manufacturing operations, and a third group that actually does Toyota production system process improvement for companies outside of Toyota, and also for philanthropy. So we've done projects for food banks. We've even done projects with the city of New York. So our philosophy is to share the learnings and the ways of the Toyota production system. Anybody and anywhere it's accepted. My group's really focused on bringing that to the operations within the organization to help democratize TPS. When we moved from California to Texas, not everybody came with us, and not everybody stayed with us since we've been in Texas. So we've brought a lot of new people in that aren't really truly familiar with the Toyota way and the Toyota production system. So part of what my team is responsible for doing is creating sort of TPS subject matter experts and democratizing TPS within our organization. And then one of the more critical pieces that I think is great because it aligns with our move toward becoming a new mobility company. We've always been a mobility company because we've been making cars and trucks, but when you think about mobility as anything that moves a person or a thing from one place to another, the world really expands. And our goal is to find efficiencies in our current operations, whether that's dollar efficiencies or manpower efficiencies that can be reallocated to these new and exciting projects, some of which are in their infancy and some of which are taking off and becoming real products and real part of our organization business.
Great, thank you. Sandy, since you mentioned the transition and the relocation from, California to Texas, Sherry, would you like to start off? Could you please share your story about what was the process like from like living in Los Angeles pretty much like your entire life. And this is for the entire panel, but Sherry, if you'd like to start off, what was your story like? Because this can be very daunting for all of us that have lived and were Californians and Angelinas for so long. What was that story for you?
Yeah, I think for me, it was very daunting because I've never lived anywhere else but California. So, you know, a lot of our team members, they've moved several times across the United States. I know, Sandy, you're probably one of them in the multiple jobs that you've been in. But I was born and raised in California. And so it was really challenging. It was a struggle because I left my whole family behind. You know, the only person that came with me was my daughter. And so the first couple months, I think it was the hardest for me because I didn't really know what to expect. You know, I was in a new state, had no, you know, family. I only had coworkers. And so my coworkers had to become more like my cohesive family, right? To help, you know, get me through the full process because they all understood what I was going through. You know, we were all going through the same thing, trying to figure out how are we going to, you know, maneuver making this change. And so I've been here now since 2017 and my family is still in California. It's still just me and my daughter out here, but I think we have adjusted so well. You know, the company was amazing throughout the process. I mean, they gave us every resource that we needed in order to make well-informed decisions about if we really wanted to pick up our lives and relocate with them, right? They gave us every opportunity to either say, hey, it's not for me, or hey, yeah, I'm going to follow the organization. And for me, I have been with the company at the time 18 years, and I just couldn't see myself anywhere else because I love the organization. I love what I do. And so, you know, I didn't want to leave. And so I took the risk and I jumped right in head first. And it's awesome. I mean, I love it here in Texas. The weather is a little bipolar, but you know, you get used to it, right? And so, you know, the change though, it was dramatic in the beginning because I missed my family. I missed my home. You know, I missed being able to just, you know, drive down the street to my dad's house or whatever the case may be. And I don't have that anymore, but I've adjusted very well. So.
Yeah, I think for me, so I actually, I grew up in San Diego and I swore that I would never leave San Diego, especially I would never live in LA, which was kind of an odd thing to say because I wanted to work for Toyota. But I hadn't put that together, I guess, in high school. When I got to LA, I realized, oh my God, there's this wonderful place called the South Bay, and that's not too different than San Diego. So I'm never leaving here. And my wife also is a California native. So when word broke that we were moving to Texas, it was really hard because we had seen our future as always being in California. So, you know, when you talk about moving, especially if you've never lived outside of a state before and you're moving a family with kids, there's a lot to think about. And it wasn't an easy decision. But I think looking back on it, and my wife and I were just talking about this the other day, looking back on it, it's actually been a real opportunity for growth. Because now that we've moved, we realized, hey, we don't have to be back in California. There's other places that we could live. And maybe we do want to go back to California, but it doesn't have to be the South Bay again. So from that perspective, it's really been a good opportunity and a growing opportunity for myself and for my family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. You know, that probably was one of the greatest challenges in my entire career. The date was April 28th, 2014, when we were notified that, oh, by the way, you still have a job, but if you'd like to have it, it will be in Texas. But there was a lot of, though, I'm really pleased the way that Toyota handled the situation and provided everyone all the necessary resources to make the right decision for them and their families. So my wife and I are really happy here. I was with the company 25 years when the announcement was made, and I'm thinking, what would I like to do? Would I like to stay in Southern California and try something new or different? Or do I want to go with something that I know is an outstanding organization? Just if you didn't believe it was an outstanding organization before the move, the way that they took care of us in that whole transition, I was truly appreciative of that. So,
Yeah.
but for me, it was a tremendous growth opportunity. Just like Sherry, my whole my immediate family's back in California. I like to jokingly say that from the university's location in Carson on Victoria, if you take that same street all the way to Redondo Beach, there used to be a hospital called South Bay Hospital. That's where I was born. And if you go exactly halfway between the university and the hospital, that's Toyota. So that's where I was supposed to work, I guess, right? So no, I'm excited about this opportunity and the fact that while it was challenging, it helped, as Sandy said, a tremendous opportunity for growth.
And Steve, you bring up a good point that talks to the culture and the nature of our company. A lot of companies see opportunities to pick up and move as opportunities to shed workforce and reduce costs. And we took the exact opposite approach. Our senior leadership wanted 100% of our associates and team members to make the move, whether it was from California or from Kentucky or from New York. And to Steve's point, and to Sherry's point, the offers were just too good to refuse, right? They wanted us to bring our know-how and our culture with them. And it was a good thing.
It's funny because like Sandy, I used to always drive past the campus, right, off the 405 freeway, because you can see it right off the 405 freeway. And I used to drive by that campus every single day when I worked at the airport before I started working for Toyota. And I used to always say, I'm going to work for that company. I'm going to work for that company one day. And when I finally got in, and then 18 years later, they're talking about they're moving, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? But it was really a no-brainer. The culture is amazing. The people are even more amazing. We're more like, I think the move brought people more closer together because, we were all in the same, boat, basically. We had never lived outside of our immediate areas, most of us. And so, we were all going through the same thing. And so I think that really helped. And I think it really did foster a lot more relationships within the organization as a whole. So I'm certainly proud of what we've done.
Great, thank you. I'm happy to hear that all of you guys are there to support each other. So, kind of thinking about, because I know that some of you guys mentioned like adaptability is like a huge thing. There's, you can have like your intentions of having consistency and like a routine each day. What is something that maybe you can share with our students about what are maybe some personal traits, skills, or characteristics do you believe that will lead to success at Toyota?
Well, I guess I can go first. I don't mind. I think some of the traits, so Sandy mentioned a little bit ago about our pillars, right? And what Toyota is based on. So continuous improvement, respect for people. Toyota is a relationship building organization, right? We believe in our people. We believe in investing in our people, and so I think having the personal traits or characteristics of being able to build relationships and sustain relationships is key within our organization. It's hard to get through it or hard to be in our culture and not have those critical traits. And I tell my interns and my co-ops and even my trainees this all the time, you have to be able to network, build relationships, have those connections, foster those relationships in order to be able to make it within our organization, because that's how we kind of survive, right? I think another one is having a strong customer focus. Our quality products, we as team members and Sandy and Steve, I'm sure they will agree with me on this. Our quality is important to us. Our quality of our products are key, but our customers are even more critical to us, right? Because without them, we couldn't sell cars, right? They wouldn't believe in us. They wouldn't believe in our quality. And so having that customer focus or that client focus is extremely important too. You know, knowing how to navigate those waters, knowing how to build and sustain that relationship with your client groups, or just with the external customer as well, the people that buy our cars. Like Steve, I worked in the call center when I first worked for Toyota. That's how I met Steve. And, you know, I had to be able to adjust my senses on how I dealt with our external customers, right? Because I knew they bought our products and they believed in us. And so having that, and then maybe another one I think is being strategic, being able to see an overall vision of the organization and being able to align your goals with the goals of the organization, right? And they can consistently change. I'm not going to say that they stay the same all the time. They can change from day to day if we need to. That's what's so great about Toyota, is that we are so flexible and we are always being innovative and looking for not only ways to change, but to be better. And so I would say those are the three most critical for me, especially when I'm looking at talent and I'm looking at potential leaders within our organization as well.
Sandy, would you like to go?
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, I'd be happy to go. So I didn't give you the opportunity. So the number one characteristic I would go with, and I think Sherry hit it extremely well, but I'm going to go with one. I'm going to say flexible. And the reason why I say flexible as a characteristic is because each and every day things change, right? But your job can be X, and tomorrow it could be X plus 1 or X plus 2 or X plus 3. The ability to be flexible and keep a positive attitude, because you never know, through the process you're going to learn new ideas, new information that's going to help you grow within not only your position but the potential future position. So as long as you're flexible and open to new opportunities and new ideas, that's a great trait to start with.
Not much I can add to that, because flexible was what I wrote down. But I think one thing I would say too, and this applies not just to Toyota, but any company, is that it's a people business. Whether you're going to take an IT role or an engineering role or be a marketing and sales guy, respect for people and how you interact is really important. And always keep that in mind. And I think those are the folks that I mentor, or that I think, you know, Sherry, you mentioned the people that you see going far in the company, especially at Toyota. It's putting respect for people first and really understanding that communication is super important to get your message across, to sell your ideas, and to really move things forward.
Your job can change. I mean, I've worked across 4 different divisions and I've had 9 jobs in my 21 years. And so I've had to be flexible. I've had to adjust. And I think the way that I managed that was not only having a positive attitude, like Steve mentioned, but also being extremely flexible with how I managed that, right? Because I knew it was just going to be better for me in the long run. Maybe at that time I was thinking, oh my God, not another job change. But then, you know, as I got into it and I continued to progress in my career, I thought, man, this is the best thing ever, because I'm learning so many different new skill sets. And it's just a great opportunity. They want you to continuously move, continuously learn, you know, and to continuously improve. See how I threw that in there, guys? Continuous improvement, continuously improve.
That's double word score. Excellent.
So kind of talking about some of those areas, does a challenge during your career journey, whether it may be with like Toyota or maybe outside of Toyota, that pops into your head, that maybe that was like a challenge that really helped you learn so much and above and beyond to kind of get to where you're at right now?
I may have said April 24th, 2014, or April 28th, 2014 is a challenging day when we told that we're going to go to Texas. I'm going to have to say a very good friend of mine owned a jewelry store in Philadelphia in the late 80s, excuse me, late 90s. And he unfortunately was the victim of gun violence. And he was shot and he's paralyzed from the chest lying down. At the time, he was driving a Lexus automobile. And when he was out of the rehabilitation hospital and getting ready behind the wheel of his car again, he asked, "Oh, by the way, does Toyota or Lexus have a mobility program?" And I said, at the time, we didn't. I said, no. And he asked me a question, why not? And that question became a concern for me. It became a personal challenge to figure out, how is it that we as Toyota Motor Sales USA at the time did not have a program to help people get into vehicles when they have a mobility impairment? And I had the opportunity to be part of the team that launched the Toyota Mobility Program on October 1st, 2001. So I could say that's probably my biggest challenge and also my greatest success. And now
Sandy,
we're a
did you
mobility
want to go
company.
next?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a really good example. I have a couple, but I think if I think about the biggest challenge I had, I was fortunate enough to be in the product planning department when we were thinking about going into the full-size pickup business. And I had the opportunity not only to go out and spend a lot of time in the market talking to customers and really understanding what they needed in a full-size pickup. And to give you an idea of what that's like, we basically go out across the country in teams, and we actually interview people in focus groups. And we do ethnographies where we go into their homes and we actually see what they do. And the challenge that we had was we were trying to convince our parent company to invest in a product that only had the ability to be sold in one market. There's no other market around the world that sells a full-size pickup. So to invest the billions of dollars in manufacturing facilities and developing a product like that is a pretty daunting task. But we got to do some unique stuff. We took the board of directors to the Bass Pro Shops. They got to tow a trailer, probably the biggest thing that some of them had ever driven in their lives. And I was encouraged by my bosses to think outside the box, right? To really make the experiences personal. So people from outside of our country and not understanding our culture could really understand the personal relationships that people have with their products in the United States, especially if you're a full-size pickup truck owner. And I'm happy to say that I did that twice, because even though we were successful the first time around, we had to go back to the board of directors and convince them again to continue to make the investment in that pickup truck. And today we're selling almost 200,000 trucks, and shortly we'll be on our third generation. So it was a challenge and it was a lot of fun.
Great.
I think for me, it's a little bit more on the personal side. You know, when I first started my career with Toyota, you know, being a woman in the industry, you know, folks always deemed it as a man's industry because it was automotive. You know, it's just a man's industry. You know, women weren't really, there weren't that many women in the industry at the time. And I just remember thinking, as I continued to grow within the organization, how proud I was, because Toyota changed that game, right? Within our organization, where we did not have a lot of top level leaders as women. I mean, you look across our organization now, it's amazing how you see how that dynamic has changed. You know, we have plant presidents that are women. You have marketing executives that are women. And for me to be able to see that makes me feel that anything is really possible, especially being a woman in the automotive industry. It hasn't always been easy, right? Because, you know, you have that perception of the industry, and that it's just, you know, all top male heavy. But the way Toyota has navigated and how they have maneuvered to bring in more women in those roles, I mean, has just been off the charts. And that makes me even more proud to work for the organization, you know, today, because I see the change, I see the vision, and I see how Toyota has welcomed that within their culture. And so I think for me, it was just more of a, you know, being a woman in the industry and then seeing how it's progressed, and even seeing myself move up in a leadership role and be able to affect the lives of others, within the organization, being in, a leadership role as a woman. So.
Great, thank you. I really love your examples of, mentioning that they were challenges in the beginning, but then became like successes for you. And it was like a really amazing learning opportunity. So you guys weren't scared of it, or maybe it was. But it was like an exciting, scary. And so you guys just learned so much more from it. And the beauty of it as well is it seemed like Toyota respects your value, your voice, and will take that into consideration. So that's really amazing to hear. The next segue that I'm sure like a lot of students on that's on this session, and Sherry, this might primarily go for you, but please, Sandy and Steve, chime in as well. Sherry, what does the internship and career opportunities look like with Toyota right now? Or what do you foresee maybe in the next year or so?
That's a really great question. So in the past, and I'm going to say pre-COVID, right? Because we all know that we've had to shift so drastically, especially last year due to COVID. So pre-COVID, we were hiring about 600 to 650 interns and co-ops per year to come in and work throughout the organization, with the intention of converting them into full-time hires, right? Because that is Toyota's overall goal. We don't just hire our interns and bring them in for a summer and say, okay, we're done with you. You got the experience, you can go. That is not Toyota's overall intent at all. Our intent is to convert our interns into team members across the organization at one of our 43 locations. And so with the shift of, and that used to all be in person, right? And so we relocated them to whatever area they were going to work in. And then when COVID hit, everything shifted drastically and had to go virtual, right? And so we had to bring the numbers down until we can recover from COVID. And so right now we are still hiring interns and co-ops for summer, fall, and spring. It's just a smaller number, and most of it is virtual, with the exception of our manufacturing plants and our parts distribution centers and our vehicle distribution centers. But we're still able to engage our students and bring them in and give them an experience with meaningful work across the organization, with the still continued goal of converting them into full-time hires. And so we are currently hiring right now for summer and fall. And so at this point in time, we're still in that midst of the pandemic of COVID. And so the future right now is still, okay, we're going to do hybrid virtual and in person, but we're hoping that in fall we'll be back to, with our numbers higher than ever for interns and back on each campus.
Yeah. Sherry, I'd like to touch on that. And you said virtual internships. This summer, I had a wonderful opportunity to lead a internship program for our call center with 6 rising seniors across the nation. We, because it was virtual, they could be anywhere, and we gave it a try. And we had 2 on the West Coast, we had 1 on the East Coast, and everyone else was in somewhere in the middle. And so they were calling in on our central time for being in the contact center training, and then they would be assigned to a team, and they were answering guest calls and letters and that type of communication. And I'm happy to say, of the 6, 3 have already committed to join the Toyota Lexus family when they graduate. So we're really excited about that. We had really good success with that. They were a lot of fun to work with, and it made me feel much extremely old in several situations when my cultural references were a tad bit out of date. But other than that, it was okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel every day, Steve, when I'm talking to them. Seriously. But the good part about it is that we have the intention, right, of providing them meaningful work across the board, because we want to convert them. We want them to be full-time team members. The one thing that I tell every intern or co-op or even our trainees that come in is that This is not only our time to show you our culture, show you what Toyota is made of, show you, about our values and about the work that we do. We're not just an automotive company, we're a mobility company. We want to get you from across the street to the next building over, right? We're not just that anymore. We are so many more things, but on the flip side of that, it's your opportunity to test us out too, because it's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street. They need to make sure that we are a fit for them as well. And I can tell you, sometimes, we're not a fit for them. Sometimes maybe our culture is a bit much. Sometimes it just doesn't fit their needs, and that's okay. But we've had the opportunity to engage them, and they've had the opportunity to learn from us. And I think that's the biggest value for the ones that don't join us.
Yeah, I'd say I'd add one more thing to that. And I say this to all the intern classes that report in the departments that I work, is we want to learn something from you as well, right? So it's a two-way street. We're bringing you in, and you've got diversity of thought. You've had different experiences. You've learned in different ways. And we want you to bring that knowledge to us as well. So don't think that you're just coming in to learn how we do things. We want to learn from your experiences as well. So take the opportunity to speak up and take the opportunity to challenge us too.
Yep. Start your impossible with us.
Awesome. Those are really great responses to the questions that I had. I really want to be mindful for all of our students that are here today and some of their questions that they have. I'm looking at the chat box. And so one of the first questions is, I currently work for a Toyota dealership and want to go to work for you guys after I finish school. Any advice on what my first step should be?
I'll let Sherry talk about the steps, but I will tell you that that's exactly my experience. So in high school, I knew I'm a gearhead. I wanted to work for a car company, and because of my great quality experience, my first car was a Toyota Celica. I wanted to work at Toyota. Back then, there weren't internship programs. So I took a job at a dealership for another brand that begins with an F. It's a 4-letter word. And because of that, I was setting myself up to be able to apply to a company like Toyota. So it was easier for me at the time. I answered an ad in the LA Times, which also dates me. But it helped me set myself up in terms of skill set and industry knowledge, and being able to understand how the automotive industry kind of works at the retail level to be able to transfer that to the wholesale level. So I think you're on the right path if that's your intent. And Sherry can tell you how to actually apply with us in that case.
Yeah, so my advice to you, your first step is to go on to toyota.com/careers, and I'll put it in the chat for you guys so you have it. Go on there and fill out your talent profile. And from there, any internships or any full-time positions that match your profile will be sent to you automatically, okay? And so I would say that's your first step. The second step is connect with me on LinkedIn. And so I answer, and believe it or not, I do get a lot of LinkedIn requests, but I do answer every single one of them, because I want you guys to know that we are here for you and my team is here for you. And so, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find it under my name, and then reach out to me. And then, we can, have an offline conversation so I can see, exactly where you fall in line, right? And I can maybe give you some guidance on maybe some things that maybe you need to do, or some things that, you're great at and you're ready to apply. I mean, anything that I can do to help. So absolutely reach out to me via LinkedIn. But your first step is go on toyota.com/careers to fill out a talent profile. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna put it in the chat for you guys right now.
Thank you. Next question. What made you desire an MBA at Cal State Dominguez Hills?
Steve made me do it.
Yeah, Steve, seems like you have the story already.
No, for me, it was really, I was working, and I wanted to get my MBA while I was working, and I was looking at the other universities in the area. And to me, the quality of the professors was really important. And when I looked at the folks at the time that were the professors at Cal State Dominguez Hills, it checked all of the boxes because they had the experience both in academia and in practical real life that I felt was going to give me the best and most well-rounded education.
I would agree that it's the same thing. It's I had a great experience as an undergraduate student, and I viewed the university as a second home. I had the opportunity to have a great relationship with a lot of the faculty. So I felt, hey, this is a good idea. And then it just happened to be that Sandy and I worked together in the same department, and we talked about it a bit and said, hey, why don't we do this together? And let's bring a third person along. We'll do that as well. So we want to thank Kathy for joining us too. So.
I actually didn't. I got my undergrad from Dominguez Hills and I got my master's from University of Arizona. So, but, Dominguez Hills was right there, in my city, and I wanted to be able to, stay within that area. And I actually went to school. Me and my sister did it together. So me and my sister are 5 years apart. We went to school together, got the same degree together, graduated on the same day together. Like, we did it all together. So it really helped to have that partner to be able to do that. So, and then I went on to pursue my master's.
That's great to hear. Thank you. And Sherry, this might go towards for you. What kind of GPA or minimum GPA do you feel is required to intern at Toyota?
So we do have a GPA requirement, and the GPA is a 3.0.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. Are there any entry-level foot in the door remote / hybrid openings that would work with a student's schedule? This particular student is willing to do a 3/4 time student status to apply for entry-level opening position.
So I'm going to take a gander here and say no. Our full-time openings are usually just that, full-time, right? And so you're working 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
There are very few part-time roles available, and we do have some, right, that are in our BECs, which is for both Toyota and Lexus, but they're very few and far between. And usually those part-time folks have come through the internship program. And so, am I missing anything, Steve, with that?
No, you're absolutely right. Yep.
Having the opportunity to have your careers expand from California and Texas, are there any unique workforce differences across the regions that you might like to, that you probably have noticed and would like to highlight for our attendees today?
I don't know that I personally didn't see any regional differences.
Me either.
But what I found interesting is, and again, I talked earlier about how eye-opening moving was, right? It made you think differently. It truly has allowed us to bring some diversity of thought into the organization, because previously there were a lot of people that, frankly, grew up in California. I mean, we had a wave in the early 70s of folks that came out of Detroit, and they came out of, Ford, Chevy, American Motor Corporation, if any of you are old enough to remember that name of a company. But then after that, it was sort of these homegrown people that really were Californians. And moving out here has allowed us to bring, the opportunity for people outside of California to get into the company, and the diversity of thoughts really helped, because we've got people now that think, a little differently than somebody who grew up in San Diego or Los Angeles. But I don't know that it's been that, culturally different. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I haven't noticed any big differences like that at all. I mean, I think, our culture changed coming from our California office, our Kentucky office, and then coming all together and combining together. because each location had, while we have the same values, our cultures may have been just a little bit different, right? How we work and how we engage and things like that. And so as we all shifted to Texas, we had to shift to one mindset, right? One mindset of how our culture now is. And I actually think our culture is better than before. Just working at TMS headquarters in Torrance, I had visited the other locations and I got a little bit of sense on how they worked, but I see the shift in the difference from both cultures there in the separate locations to our one big culture at NA headquarters, which I think is pretty amazing.
Yeah, one thing I should mention is, at least from a cultural difference, is maybe not about the location, but about people. So previously, our company was filled with people like me and Steve and Sherry, right? That have been there for a long time. I mean, so that's pretty much what we had in those locations. But when we moved, 30% of the people didn't move with us. And then as we've been here for the last 5 or 6 years, people have left. And now we're hiring new and younger people in our organization. And the mindset's different, right? The mindset isn't, I'm going to work here for 30 years. They think I'm nuts, right? They're here to learn and grow and experience new things, and they may or may not stay. So the cultural shift has been more on us to think differently about how we can engage with people like that, people like you, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, that's so true. That is so true.
And the other big difference between California and Texas is in Texas, you can't get any good Mexican food. But other than that, it's okay.
I know the struggle is real.
Because Tex-Mex is not Mexican food, just to let you know.
Thank you. Well, that's pretty much concludes the moderation and some Q&A on my end. Felicia, would you like to take it away?
Sure, yes. I'd like to thank all of our partners, not only our Dean LaPolt, thank you for joining us and being a part of this group. Also, thank you to the team with the Career Center. We appreciate you on this partnership. And definitely our special thanks to our alums calling in from Toyota. I know we're running into your dinner time right now, but I do hope with everyone, I want to make sure that we were able to answer everyone's questions. So before we leave, I'm definitely going to show the video that I promised you earlier about working with Toyota and leave that for the end. But if there's one last question we can get from the audience, we'd be happy to answer it. Well, okay. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and move forward with showing the video, and that will conclude our program. But thanks again to Sherry, Steve, and Sandy.
Bye, guys.
We are still a consensus-driven company, but we are so complex today that those decisions are taking longer and longer and longer. So that's why I came up with the idea that what we really needed to do was to get everybody together as one Toyota so that we can make more rapid decisions. This is about bringing people together. So that's part of that Toyota culture. Part of that. Unity. We're about partnership. Our partner. This particular case is the sales division. Our partner was going, we were going. In the end, it boiled down to two big buckets. One is what's best, but then equally as important was the personal side. Dallas was by far the clear. And when you looked at Plato was probably the best corporate site. The way I like to think about it, this is always been I think of it
It's exciting here at the site. The site is just one piece of one Toyota. about that innovative thinking, it's about having that problem-solving mindset. It's about the culture that we're creating. We focus on the element of our human capital, right? That's our biggest investment, it's our biggest resource, and it is just thrilling to see the organization take that to heart and really put it in front of everyone and dedicate it.
The beauty of this project has been that Plano isn't just the only place where you see flexibility and inspiration and innovation, but it's actually also what's leading them at the Georgetown location, as well as what they're doing in Newark, in order to make sure that it's a one-Toyota mindset.
This is a really momentous occasion for us. 18 months ago, we told the world we were going to do this. Today, we're here.
We're not creating an organization that mirrors what we already have. It's an approach that's unprecedented in our history. In fact, it's pretty much unprecedented in any corporate headquarters move in North America.
In the end, this is all about people. Whether we succeed or fail is based on how well we do as a team. And that's how we'll be successful. We'll have fun doing it.
That's it. Thank you so much for everyone. I will, for all the students still on the line, if you would like to see this program, I'm going to put it in the group chat where you can find this video for your future reference. But thank you so much for all of you for joining us, and go Toros.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
The Toros.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.